Hey bros, what's going on? This is Cotton Man. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because subscribing makes you feel good.
Please like and subscribe.
I scroll through YouTube videos by First Amendment auditors and cop watchers, and I watch a lot of them. And so I came across this video, Legal Dissent. I believe they were the ones who initially posted it. And if I am mistaken, we will put a little correction down here to give proper credit. And when I watched the video, I was horrified, like basically everyone else who watches it. I mean, horrified. I could not believe my eyes. And so I immediately posted a comment like, does this person have an attorney? And sure enough, someone got back to me. I believe it was Monte's sister responded. And I wanted to know whether or not the family had an attorney, Monte had an attorney, someone who could help them, because this was beyond the pale. I don't know how anyone could watch this video and not want to do every single thing that they could to make sure this never happens again, to make sure that Monte is okay, and that these law enforcement officers lose their certification, because they are not fit, not qualified to have the power that they have, because they have demonstrated that they are willing to abuse that power in profound ways. So I started a dialogue with Monte's sister and eventually was put in touch with him. I've spoken with Monte's mother, brother-in-law, other people that live in Summitville who have also been victims of police violence and misconduct and brutality by the same officers, of police violence and misconduct and brutality by the same officers. So Monte did not own a vehicle at the time this occurred, and he was borrowing the vehicle of a family member with permission, who had made arrangements for Monte to be able to go into the vehicle in order to plug his phone in, charge his phone, because he did not have a place to charge his phone. And so the owner of the vehicle, the family member, would often leave the car in a place that had Wi-Fi access, where there were good bars on his cell phone. You know, he had a key, he was able to go into it, plug in, and to this day, he's assumption starting out that this is Monte's car, and therefore the contents of the car belong to him, and therefore he's a driver. Well, the officer encounters Monte in a parking lot. So it's not a public road. So he never saw Monte operating a vehicle on a public road. In fact, he had been there to shoot hoops and, charging his phone, etc. But the officer never saw Monte driving the vehicle on a public road. But nonetheless, he pulls him over in this parking lot. And he says that they received a call for a suspicious vehicle, or not a suspicious vehicle, I'm sorry, a suspicious person. And so I've since researched this, and it turns out that there wasn't a call through the 911 system or into the police department, because that would have been recorded and is just, discoverable. But rather what happened was the person who at that time was the chief of the fire department, Randy Sizlove, is that his name? He saw, the fire department's, I think, right across the street. He saw Monte and thought he was suspicious, although apparently that's not actually what motivated him to call. So he called Everett, who at that time was the deputy chief of police. There are only 2 officers in this entire police department. So this town of Summitville has like 932 people, 2 officers, chief, deputy chief, and calls him on his cell phone to notify him. So he demands his ID. It turns into a battle of wills, essentially, where Monte is saying, I'm not required to give you my ID. And he's correct, he's not required to. Everett seems to either not know this or not care about this, and becomes fixated and gets tunnel vision on this battle of wills. Monte is not showing sufficient deference to Everett's authority. And Everett, I think, is offended by this. It challenges his ego, because I think his ego is largely dependent on being the most powerful person in whatever room he's in. And so the room he's in right now is this detention. He stopped this person. This person's not being sufficiently deferential. But Monte was actually quite polite courteous through the entire encounter. There was only one point where Monte even raised his voice, one point for like one sentence where he raised his voice. Otherwise, he was saying, I respect you, thank you. He said, I wish you no ill will. He disclosed there was a baseball bat on his, on the dashboard saying, I don't want you to think that I'm hiding this. So there's nothing that's objectively reasonable that a police officer could point to and say that Monte was posing a threat or was, escalating the situation or confrontational or aggressive. That's just simply not in the fact pattern here.
I'm recording this too. My name is Officer Everett. I'm with the Somerville Police Department. Do you have some ID on you?
No, sir.
You don't have any ID on you?
I don't see what I was doing wrong.
Okay, I was called in a suspicious activity. I'm asking you to give me your ID. In the state of Indiana, you're required to identify yourself.
Thanks, Andre, for having us. Really do appreciate the opportunity. But first, we got to talk about how Officer Everett is incorrect in his understanding of the law. Refusal to identify oneself is defined by Indiana Code 34-28-5-3.5. When a person who knowingly or intentionally refuses to provide their name or driver's license to a law enforcement officer who has stopped the person for an infraction or an ordinance violation. In this case, Monty Myers has not been stopped for an infraction or an ordinance violation. Therefore, he's not required to identify himself to the officer. According to the probable cause affidavit, Officer Everett is only there because of an anonymous phone call that complained about a suspicious person in a black Ford truck at the park. Nothing in the tip stated a specific set of facts that would allow a reasonable person to suspect him of committing a crime when Officer Everett approached him. As we've talked about before on our channel, there are three types of police-citizen encounters. The first is established United States versus Mendenhall, which is considered a consensual encounter and it involves only minimal police contact. During this type of encounter, a citizen may either voluntarily comply with the police officer's requests or choose to ignore them. Per the Supreme Court's ruling in Terry versus Ohio, any type of encounter more invasive than this to justify an investigatory stop requires a well-founded, articulable suspicion of criminal activity. Mere suspicion alone is not enough to support a stop.
If you don't identify yourself, please keep your hands where I can see them.
Okay, they're right here.
Okay.
That's a baseball bat.
I understand that. I see that baseball bat. Do you have any guns?
Route to the call on 1100 North.
You have any guns or knives in the car? Why are you so nervous, partner?
Because pretty much you came up to me with a gun right now.
I'm a police officer. I have a fully marked police car.
Listen, I understand.
Did I have my gun out?
No. But,
Okay. So do you have any ID on you?
But listen, this guy comes out of here, okay?
Okay.
And tells me pull it off. I said I will.
Do you have any ID on you?
No, sir.
I need you to step out of the vehicle.
No, sir.
Okay.
No,
I'm going to
sir.
tell you right
I
now.
wasn't doing nothing wrong.
Okay.
This
I'll
is
tell you
my
right now.
I wasn't doing nothing wrong.
Okay.
This
I'll
is
tell you
my
right now.
right, sir.
I have another unit coming,
That's fine.
and when he gets here, you're coming out of the vehicle.
I'm coming out of the.
I am asking you right now to identify yourself and step out of the vehicle.
Identify yourself. I asked you that too, sir.
I've already done that. I'm Officer Everett with the Somerville Police Department. I'm a deputy chief here. If that recording,
I honor you. Thank you, sir.
if that recording doesn't come out, let me know. I'm recording it too.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay. You're awful nervous,
Yes,
and I'm
because
asking
you
you.
came up-
I'm asking you to step
you
out of the
said-
vehicle.
The Indiana State Supreme Court held in State v. Quirk that while nervousness may indicate potential wrongdoing, courts have been hesitant to assign significant weight to a person's display of nervousness as a significant factor in leading an officer to form reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. The show of authority is unsettling and it creates substantial anxiety, because it is not at all unusual that a citizen may become nervous when confronted by law enforcement officials. Other evidence that a person may be engaged in criminal activity must accompany nervousness before the nervousness will evoke suspicion necessary to support detention. In this instance, Officer Everett is extremely antagonistic, using a raised voice that sounds angry and intimidating, in addition to a liberal amount of aggressive finger pointing that would make most people feel uneasy and concerned. Further, in today's environment of a hyper-awareness of police brutality and misconduct, it is perfectly reasonable for an individual to be nervous of a law enforcement officer's intentions. Again, suspicious activity by itself does not constitute a crime. Officer Everett has failed to be able to articulate a well-founded suspicion of the actual criminal activity. Therefore, Monty Myers is under no legal obligation to identify or comply with the officer's demands.
I know, but you said that we have...
I'm asking you to step out of the vehicle. I'm asking you to step out of the vehicle.
What's the problem, though, sir?
I just told you why I was
I
here.
just came to play basketball, and that's what I told you I was doing.
I have been called here on you for suspicious activity.
Okay, suspicious
I'm not going to
activity.
argue about it,
I'm
sir.
not either. I'm just proving
Okay.
my point. I got rights, you
Okay.
know what I mean? And I didn't...
Do you understand by failing? What's your name?
What's your name? I got the right to remain silent, right?
No, you need, by the state of Indiana.
I got the right to
Okay.
remain silent.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate this.
Stand by.
My face is not on this.
Stand by.
Stand by.
I want you to understand that in the state of Indiana, you are
Okay,
required by law to identify yourself when asked by a police officer.
But what was I doing wrong?
I have explained that to you 3 times. I
got
was
the
called.
right to remain silent.
I-
What was I doing?
It doesn't got anything to do with you being.
I'm
Okay,
sitting here fighting for my rights, my freedom
Okay.
that our soldiers fought for.
okay,
This is what I'm doing.
okay,
Our freedom.
okay.
I respect you, sir. So
Do you?
Can I leave? Because
No, you cannot leave. You are not free to go
Why?
because I am conducting an investigation.
An investigation.
Yes.
Wow. What? What'd I do? Seriously.
I have explained to you 4 times now.
You guys see this, right? What was I doing wrong?
Now he sees it. He's a police officer too, so it'd be all right.
What was I doing wrong, ma'am? What was I doing wrong? I got off the baseball court, right?
Somerville 1,
But all
2,
of a
Clarence
sudden,
1.
he just wants to say this about me, right? Suspicious
Good.
of what was I
Never,
doing wrong?
never mind. I see. I was going to get you to step it up. He's being combative verbally. Okay.
23.
Was there a problem, sir?
I'm going to ask you.
Do we have any further problem from there? I got off that basketball court and I started to shoot basketball. Right? Right? See? And I'm not stepping out of this car.
4813, Somerville 2, do you need another unit? That was on me, okay.
I'm gonna ask you- I'm gonna ask you-
Taking people's rights away.
Okay.
And it's not right.
I'm going to explain to you one more time why I'm here.
For the freedom of our
You were
soldiers.
called in as suspicious activity.
But what
You have no
suspicious was
ID. I'm asking you to step out of the vehicle.
Please don't.
I'm asking you to step out of the vehicle now. Step out of the vehicle now. Step out.
The other officer that arrives on scene is Deputy Chief Tom Everett's boss, Chief Sean McGuire. Note that at the time of this incident, these were the only 2 full-time officers working at the Somerville Police Department.
So he decides then, or before he called for, or maybe right after he called for backup, when my backup's getting here, you're getting out of the car. And so now he's made this statement that we will impose our will on you through force, no matter what. And they have no right to demand that he leave the car. He's not even lawfully detained. So no right to a detention, no right to his ID, no right to demand he leave the car. So they're essentially kidnapping him. They're forcing him to leave this vehicle. And he said he would get out. And if you stop the frame right there, he said, okay, I'm getting out. His left foot is down on, so this is a truck, and I think it has like, what do they call them, little steps or something, or some kind of thing to stand on. It's down there, and he's in the process of getting out when they tase him. So we could go into a thing about when is it lawful to use a taser, when isn't it? Is it ever appropriate to use it just for compliance? Do you have to use it for defense? Like, does it have to be an imminent threat? There are all these different standards. But under no comprehensible threshold would it have been appropriate to use a taser in this case. Everett became, basically obsessed with this tunnel vision of, I've got to get his ID. And this investigation into the supposed suspicious behavior was forgotten. It essentially fell by the wayside. And now his investigation became only about obtaining ID. That was the sole purpose of his interaction. So I think that it was motivated through anger, and that this taser was used basically to teach him a lesson about this is what happens when you challenge the police, when you question our authority. when you refuse to immediately comply, whether it's a lawful demand or not. I can't see any legitimate purpose that it served. So it was not only inappropriate, but in my opinion, the use of the taser was a violation of the Eighth Amendment's prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment, because they didn't just deploy it in the manner that the taser manufacturers recommend. It appears that they may not have had sufficient training, since I did go through the training records and did a public records request for that. So it appears they may not have been sufficiently trained, but I think that they didn't use it in an improper way out of misinformation about how to properly use it. I think they used it in an improper way deliberately. They were using the taser literally as a weapon to teach him a lesson.
I got him. I'm gonna tase him. Let me tase him. Let me tase him. Taser, taser, taser! Get out of the vehicle now! Get out!
I'm getting out! I'm getting out!
Get out now!
Get out! Oh! 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 I'm getting out, please! I'm getting tasered! I can't move, please!
Taser!
Please, please, no! Please! Please, sir! Please! Please!
Get out of the vehicle now! Get out!
Help! 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 Help!
Get out of the vehicle now!
Please! Okay, please, sir!
Get out of the vehicle!
Okay.
Get out of the fucking vehicle now! Get on the fucking ground! Get on the fucking ground now!
No!
Get on the fucking
No.
ground!
No, this is wrong! People! Help me! Somebody stand up! Please! I wasn't doing nothing
Drive him.
wrong!
Drive him.
Please! Let me go! Let me go home, sir! Taser! 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 Hey!
Let him go. Let him go for a minute. I'll take him. Get on the fucking ground, asshole! Give me your fucking hand right now!
Okay.
Give me your fucking hand or I'll break your fucking wrist.
Cuff me, man. Just cuff my hands. Please, sir. Sir, please.
Another one if you're going.
No.
You all right?
No.
And turn around on your belly.
Sir, okay. Okay, can I please? I'm pleading for my life, sir. Please.
Right, let me have that.
Gotcha.
Please, thank you.
I got it.
Oh, please,
I got
sir.
it. Roll it on your fucking belly now.
No, sir.
Roll.
No.
Roll on your
No.
belly.
Please,
Stand by for a minute. Stand by. Stand by. Stand by. 13, step it up. We're fighting.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Please, sir. No, no. No.
Give me your other fucking hand. Give me your other fucking hand.
So at that moment, he takes Monte out of the vehicle. He tases Monte first, takes him to the ground, begins beating Monte. He grabs Monte by the testicles. He squeezes them. You see that in the video. And what are the deputies saying?
At some point, a sheriff's deputy arrives.
Sheriff's deputy.
I think that was towards the end.
Okay.
So in the beginning, it was just the chief and deputy chief.
And what were
And of
they
course-
saying to Monte as he's getting beat?
Well, they're cursing at him. They're denigrating him. And it's so disgusting that my mind gets paralyzed imagining what Monte was experiencing. That he literally started praying. He was begging for his life. He was trying to comply. They were standing on his wrist. They kept telling him to roll over. Lots of law enforcement officers do this when they've got someone pinned, like, put your hands behind your back, put your hands behind your, it's physically impossible. It's an impossibility to do what they're demanding. And that's what was happening in this case with Monte. He couldn't do what they were demanding.
Okay.
Give me your other fucking hand now.
Thanks, sir.
Give me your other fucking hand now.
My hand's here.
Okay.
Give
Please,
me your other
sir.
fucking hand now.
It's here, sir,
Put it behind
please.
your back. I got it.
Please, Lord, Father, in heaven, I'll be thy name. Your kingdom come.
Oh, you're gonna give me your name now, motherfucker. You're going to jail.
Okay, I'll give you my name. Please, somebody help me. Sir, help me. Please, please. Okay, okay.
You getting?
Okay.
Wax up. Locked up, motherfucker, right now. I'm gonna kick your shit out of you.
You done now?
You son of a bitch. You wanna fight me? I'll fight you in an instant, brother.
Send the medical.
Clear, we'll start him.
What are you doing here?
Can you
Don't
advise
go
any
nowhere.
further?
That's something in that car. I'm telling you. He's nervous as hell. There's something in there. Huh? Yeah. There's something in there.
4813 Alexandria 41, were you clear there, J3?
What's your problem, dude?
1544.
Huh? He's bleeding. You better not move, you hear me? Get up, boy.
Come on. Come on.
Get up.
So he had been tased 5 times, including twice in the head, is my understanding. That's what the evidence so far shows. And meanwhile, so he's being hauled off to jail. They get to search this vehicle, which, remember, is not his vehicle. And they have no right to search this vehicle because you're only allowed to do an inventory search incident to arrest, but it wasn't a lawful arrest. So they're going through someone else's vehicle and they're positive they're going to find, I think they're thinking meth, or they're going to find PCP or something that would explain this violent, out of control kid, right? They're positive. He's got to be on something. They're fixated on that. He's got to be on something. He's not. They find a blunt, tiny bit of cannabis, tiny bit. Now, remember, this is not his vehicle. So they don't know whether this belongs to him or not. They find this, but that can't be it. And Everett actually says, this isn't what he's on. He's not on this. Everett is suffering from confirmation bias, or he's rewriting a narrative because he realizes that he's fucked up and he's got to do something to justify his level of force, because his level of force was not proportionate and he knows that. And so he's kind of in a shit, I'm going to find, So he's either pedaling backwards or he really believed that Monte was on something, because maybe Randy said, yeah, this guy's nuts. He's probably on meth. Who knows what Randy said. So this confirmation bias is gotta be on something. He's searching the whole truck, never finds what he's on because he's not on anything. He's not. And guess what? They had the opportunity to do a urinalysis, to do a blood draw when they arrested him at the jail, never did it. So if he really believed in good faith that this was this dangerous psychotic person, PCP-induced, rage, contempt of cop thing, why didn't they do a blood draw? Why didn't they do a urinalysis? You know why? Because they knew he wasn't on anything and they didn't want any evidence to be created that would be exculpatory. And I think that's why they deliberately didn't do it. Or maybe they're just incompetent. That could be too. It could be they're total nincompoops. But yeah, they never found what he was on. He wasn't on anything. On anything.
I haven't checked him for any needles or nothing.
What's your name? You don't have a name?
Yes, I got it.
What's your name? Okay.
All right, you go to jail with no name. Stay there longer. Huh? Yeah. That's why when I...
What's that notepad? Look at that.
Oh, he's wigging out, man.
Clear, somebody.
Well, here's the one thing. That's probably a blunt. That's a blunt. Here's a dugout. I hope he didn't do all that stupid shit over a fucking dugout. Oh yeah, he's got weed, so I'm gonna charge him with that. Forcibly resisting.
What was he doing when you first got here?
Huh?
What was he doing when you first got here?
So he was trying to leave, and I let him up, and I got out and gave him my name and asked him for his ID, and he said, why? I said, well, I'll be honest with you. I've been called here for suspicious activity on you. And he goes, I ain't got to tell you anything. He said, well, actually, in the state of Indiana, you do. And so he just started ramping up. And he's on something. He ain't on this. This is not what he's on. He's on something else. Hey, brother. Hey, that's a good fight. That's a good fight.
Here's some scales.
He's got scales. Well, then he's going to have something else in here. He's got probes still in him. I only got one. He got something in this car. He's way too nervous. Okay.
Look at it.
There's a, I know.
Didn't get a hold of that.
4012, I'm
I
going to
told
be
him, I said,
10-6
don't touch
vehicle
that right
maintenance
now.
momentarily.
He says, you come up here with a gun. I said, my gun's not out, but you touch
48.
that now, we're on problems.
Anything in that packet?
What happened, Sunshine?
As I mentioned previously, Somerville Fire Chief James Randy Sislove is alleged to have been the person who called the police on Mr. Myers. Thanks to Esquire Audits' thorough investigation into Mr. Sislove's background, she uncovered several articles that expose the disturbing reality.
That's a hell of a fight. You just missed it.
I told you this guy's nuts.
Yeah, we're a good one.
Y'all had to fight him, huh?
For a while. Hey, there's a 22 caliber shell. It's been shot, but it's right underneath there. I'm wondering if this is the guy they were looking for at 1700. Hey, you fucking tased the shit out of me.
Oh, we both got
Yeah.
Oh, did you really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He was fighting us hard.
So, what started the fight? Just you walked up on him,
He wouldn't come out, so we cummed him out. Okay, so I can't believe this guy. Something.
Tweaked on something.
I was gonna say, I was gonna ask you. He acts like he's all fucked up on something.
This is some
Somerville 1, Somerville 2, code 4.
He's over recycling it
Code 6. I don't know who this kid is. He won't give us his name, so I don't give a fuck. I'll book his ass as fucking John Doe. He can sit down there. But there's something in the...
Baseball bat up there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He's...
I can't believe he fought you. Hell, now I feel bad for going home. I just figured he was drugged out.
I tased him in the car. That did nothing to him.
Yeah,
fucking
he's drugged.
nothing. And then...
Well, he's going away now, isn't he?
That's a blunt, isn't it?
Yep.
I can smell it.
Yep.
Just
Smells
put
like
that...
it to me.
Put that down there with that. It could be laced.
Yep. You're good.
I haven't checked that safe box back there. I'm gonna go get a couple bags.
I don't think I have any. I'm glad I got you some fight.
Oh yeah, good fight. It was a good fight. It was a good fight. We both got the shit tased out of us.
Monte Myers was charged with battery against a public safety official, resisting law enforcement, possession of marijuana, refusal to identify self, disorderly conduct, possession of paraphernalia, and driving while suspended. So he spent 4 months in jail.
Over 4 months.
Over 4 months in jail. He got charged with all these trumped up charges. What ends up happening with those charges? When he goes to his preliminary hearing and court, what happens with all of that?
Right. So this case drags on and on and on and on and on and on and on. It took over 3 years until finally a judge ruled on a motion to dismiss, and the judge granted the motion to dismiss with prejudice so that these charges could not be refiled. He granted them on all of the charges, including the marijuana, which they found. Now, again, we don't know if that belonged to Monte or not, but they found this small blunt with this tiny, I don't know, less than a gram of cannabis, and they dismissed that. You know why the judge dismissed that? Because it wasn't a lawful stop, because it wasn't a lawful search, because it wasn't a lawful arrest. The judge exonerated Monte, and it tells the officers, you never had any grounds for the detention in the first place. This detention was unlawful, fruit of the poisonous tree. That's why this was dismissed. So to anyone who says, well, Monte should have just shown his ID, he should have just given his ID, this was an unlawful stop. Do you believe that we live in a country where if a police officer demands your ID, you should just give it? Because I certainly don't. That didn't work out well for the Jews. We don't want to live in a country where any police officer at any time can stop anyone they want and demand their ID. That's not a country I want to live in.
The charges are dismissed. What ends up happening to the officers involved? Any disciplinary action? And also with Monte, shortly after this is when you got in contact with him once you saw the video, once it was released.
Right.
If you could talk about that a little bit,
Sure.
please.
So at the time that the charges were dismissed, no disciplinary action had been taken by the officers, or had been taken against the officers. Nothing had happened to the officers. The city council claimed that they weren't even aware of the videotape, but I have evidence that strongly suggests that that's not true. So they misrepresented when they became aware of the body cam. So Legal Dissent creates this video. I got involved. A bunch of people are calling because they watched the video. And I wrote letters and I made phone calls and I did public records tests. And I wanted to start trying to get as much information as I could. And so the town council realizes that this is becoming a to-do. Because they're starting to feel heat. And it's the first time I think that they've been scrutinized by the outside world. This is a very small town council lawyer there too. And they decided in that meeting that there would be no disciplinary action taken against McGuire, that Everett would have a write-up. He'd be written up in his personnel file, and a copy of the body cam video would be placed in the file. And that's it. There would be no further disciplinary action. So I'm not sure what a write-up exactly means, because I did do a public records request for the police department's, files that show that type of thing. And that wasn't provided to me. So I don't know what that means. So other than that, he got no other repercussions. Well, shortly thereafter, because people were very upset when it was announced at the next town council meeting, it was announced that neither of them were fired and that nothing was happening to McGuire. And people were very upset. McGuire decided to retire. So, I don't know if he would have retired anyway, or if this was an early retirement. I imagine that this did impact his decision in some way, although I don't know for sure. So he retires. So now his position is open. And I was told by a resident of Summitville that Everett applied for the position, and that at the very least, he knows for sure that there was an officer from Marion who had 20 years of experience who applied for the position. And I don't know about any other applicants. And guess what? They gave the promotion to Everett, even though they had another candidate who was qualified. So they chose Everett over the other people that applied for this. And so he got rewarded. His supervisor retires with his head held in shame, in my opinion, never to have his reputation restored. That is his legacy. And Everett gets a promotion, gets his job. So this town council that knows about what happened to Monte and knows that they're being sued for that they're actually being sued for that, doubles down and reinvests in Everett rather than admit. I can't help but think that maybe this was like a strategy on this part. If we fire him, it's kind of like admitting that what he did was wrong. And so let's just stand behind him. And if we just double down, at least we're being consistent. But if we don't promote him, it's kind of like admitting that we don't approve, That's, it's conjecture, but what went into that thought process?
On June 16, 2021, Monte Myers would file a lawsuit against Chief Sean McGuire, Deputy Chief Tom Everett, the town of Summitville, and the Summitville Police Department. After a considerable duration, a settlement was ultimately reached on April 27th of 2022 for an undisclosed sum. However, a very reliable source of mine closely associated with the case shared with me that the settlement amount was $80,000. Looking into their backgrounds, both Sean McGuire and Tom Everett have a troubling record of past arrests involving violence, with numerous complaints and federal civil rights lawsuits filed against them for their excessive use of force. Through the efforts of Esquire Audits and myself, we uncovered a minimum of 4 distinct civil rights lawsuits specifically naming these 2 individuals. In the end, Chief Sean McGuire would receive no disciplinary action against him, but after a lot of public backlash, Sean McGuire would announce his retirement. Deputy Chief Tom Everett would get written up, whatever that means, but would still remain employed with the Somerville Police Department. In fact, Tom Everett would later apply for the vacant position left by Sean McGuire, and to the surprise of many, was selected for the job, effectively receiving a promotion. Since the incident, Mr. Everett's position at the Somerville Police Department had changed yet again. As of 2021, he was named the Town Marshal. In late August of 2023, several attempts were made to contact the Somerville Police Department regarding Tom Everett. However, it appears that the Somerville Police Department is currently unresponsive to emails or phone calls. As for Randy Sizlove, in 2020, Mr. Sizlove was charged with 5 felony charges in an unrelated case. The charges include criminal deviant conduct, sexual misconduct with a minor, child solicitation, child seduction, and possession of child pornography. In 2021, additional charges would be filed against Mr. Sizlove, alleging that he stole over $143,000 from the Somerville Fire Department and Van Buren Township. The conflict of interest felony charge is a result of Mr. Sizlove doing work for the fire department and township and not filing the proper documents with county officials, telling them he was working for both entities. The allegations include the buying and selling of several vehicles and pieces of equipment with township and fire department funds, and that Mr. Sizlove benefited by each transaction.
I want to say something to the people in power in Indiana who had an opportunity to do something about this. So town council, I'm calling you out right now. Look at your conscience. How would you feel if this was your family member who's treated this way? Does it have to be a family member for you to care enough to want justice, to want to make sure it doesn't happen to anybody else? You can't feel the empathy, even though this isn't someone who's related to you. What would it take? If he had died, would that have been enough, or would nothing be different? Town council, you're in a position to make sure that this never happens again. Remember the last check you wrote town council? Because of McGuire and Everett and what they did? Randy Cummings, shame on you. How do you look yourself in the mirror? Look at your motto on your website. Read your motto. Be a professional. Why won't you do your job? If you won't do your job, I believe the voters of Indiana will find someone who will. This is your job. They're depending on you. There isn't anyone else. You're the one. You have failed them. You have failed Monte. You have failed all of the citizens of Summitville. State troopers. You don't just call a DA and say, sorry, well, he's not going to do anything, so we won't open an investigation. What about corruption? Does anybody care? Is there anyone in your state government who's willing to look into corruption? I can't believe this. Crimes were committed and nobody wants to investigate them. Why? Why does it not matter? I am outraged and disgusted with all you folks. You guys have failed in your job. You failed in your job. You should resign. You should all resign. Hang your heads in shame and resign.